Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of this week's Look Finance SEQFC Preview Show, with thanks to Vilic Law. It's the Gold Coast edition, and we've got our usuals. We've got Mark Madge with us from Football Gold Coast. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Darren. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. We've got Brett Budwee. I tried to get rid of him this week. I tried very hard. He's coming off the bench.
I cut out the
Couldn't do it without.
All good.
Welcome.
Thanks, mate.
Good to have you. And our newbie this week is from Surfers Paradise. Surfers Paradise Apollo, isn't it? We've got Kirk. How are you, Kirk?
Good, Darren, yourself?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. All right, now let's start with you, Kirk. Your team's been on top of the table for most of the season. Must be a pretty enjoyable year for you guys.
It has been this year, to be fair. We didn't hit top until the second part of the rounds. Kuma on top at the end of the first load of round. But it's always good being on top. You know, people chasing us rather than us chasing them. Puts pressure on other teams. But yeah, no, it's been a good feeling. It's been a good feeling to be up there.
Did you know at the beginning of the year that you had something going?
We always look to try and be up the top and have a successful year. That's what the kind of club we are. To be fair, in pre-season, we sort of hit our straps up against a couple of good NPL teams, started a good cup run again. So we knew that we were going to be competitive, and we knew that we were going to be more than competitive. Some people say that, that we were probably the favourites to win the league, or favourites to be up there anyway. So we take that on the chin and we sort of move forward with that, and it sort of worked out. So yeah, and to be fair, I think since the second stage of the season, I think we've been really strong. So yeah, I think we're now with 2 games to go. It's right up for grabs, right up for it.
How's the mood at the club with not that you're walking away with the league, but you're in a title race and it's tough and you've got to battle every week and every result matters?
That's the key point, isn't it? We're keeping our heads low. We're not trying to get above ourselves. It's a good contest. Obviously now it's only two horse race for us and Palmy. The feeling around the club is anticipation more than anything. It's hard to tell, everyone's happy, but we're sort of keeping our heads really below, just make sure that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. We've got a hard game this week, hard game next week. But the club hasn't been in this situation for a while. Since I've been here, hasn't been in this situation for 15 years. So it's a long time that we've sort of battling for that title, as in so close, and us on top at the moment. So no, it's good feeling to be around.
Excellent. All right, we might come back to that in just a moment. Mark, I want to have a chat to you first about the grand final that we've got this weekend in the Coast League. Now, we were going to have Jason Schultz from Musgrave on the show. We've had some technical difficulties, which is why we've got called Brett in at the last moment. Mark, take us through the semi-final results on the weekend and the final.
Yeah, look, obviously the final is going to be Kingsley versus Musgrave. They were the top 2 teams for the whole duration of the regular season. They're 2 teams coming into the Premier League next year. So, it's always good to see 1 versus 2 in the final. You like to see that for the neutral. As for the semi-finals, obviously Musgrave played their semi first and got past Bay. They were down 1-0 quite early. And then obviously rallied in that second half to get the win and go through the final. To the final there. Bay had a man sent off, which didn't help their young team as well. Maybe that pressure situation there of Musgrave having, obviously, the game at their home ground as well would have maybe got them through the line. It was a big day overall on Saturday there for the Coast League with all the semi-finals played in one venue. So again, it shows there. As for Kingscliff, I think those who watched our highlights, there was 1 highlight in the first half. So very dull first half by the looks of it. From all accounts, from all parties, it was one of the worst halves of football for a long, long time that a lot of people have seen, with no chances falling. But then obviously second half, they kicked into gear, got the 4 goals, got the win against Madraba. And to be fair, as I said in the past, for Madraba to be in the position and the growth that they've shown with their players to be in that position was a win for them, I'm sure. And to be 0-0 at half-time with the champs, the ones that are going up, I think I can take a lot of positives out of that. Now we're set for the final at Palm Beach, also in reserves. It's Musgrave versus Kingscliff as well. So I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic afternoon, and it's anyone's at the end of the day. Obviously, Kingscliff got the job done against Musgrave last time they played in the first grade to win the title. But now, as everyone knows, grand finals are a different animal and a different beast for all the teams involved, and it should be an interesting afternoon.
How do you see it going?
Look, to be honest, those that don't know, I can't. Oh, is Kirk still? Kirk's there? No, I thought Kirk might have dropped out. No, it was, look, at the end of the day, Kingscliff will be the favourites being the champs. I know one thing that might be a bit different this time around is they lost their top scorer with a serious injury from that Musgrave game last time. He's out for the rest of the year, and Ryan Zietlow. So, maybe they'll have some issues up front there. Obviously, the 4 goals doesn't show that, but in the game against Bay, their last regular season game, getting that creative productivity up front might be difficult. The issue, on the flip side, is it's going to be some interesting matchups as well. Kingscliff have the best defence in the Coast League all year, and Musgrave have the top scorer in Coast League in Fikret Mehic. So it'll be an interesting matchup both ways. Look, I'm going to always go for the fun stuff. I want to see penalties. So I'm going to go draw and a draw. Coaches won't like to hear that, so I'm going to go for penalties, though, to decide it and flip a coin in the shootout.
All right, big call. Now, on the SEQFC page, we're running our awards are all up and running now, and we've got presenting an award for the best player in the Coast League 1. Just having a look at the poll at the moment, and Jackson Wedd from Tweed Heads is on 85 votes with Raphael Chiesi from Musgrave on 77. Does Jackson deserve to be there, Mark?
I don't know much about I won't lie in this, but I don't really know much about the Coast League players themselves. We've obviously done our awards as Football Gold Coast, and I think I can say it. I think I'll be allowed to say it. The top 2 in your poll aren't the top 2 in Football Gold Coast, which is voted by the coaches. So obviously we'll be different winners. Must be a lot of social media support there coming Tweed's way. So I can't really comment on if he deserves it or not. I'm sure that, every player can deserve it. He was a nominated player for Tweed as their top 3 players for the year as well. But yeah, those top two in your poll didn't get the awards at the end of the day from the coaches this year.
Very diplomatic answer. So yes, just jump on the SEQFC page. You'll have a scroll through and you'll find the poll there. And it's been much more successful than we'd hoped for. We've had plenty of new members join up, so it's great. And welcome to the page, and hope you enjoy being a part of it all. All right, now let's get to the Premier League. Brett, you're back with us. Mate, you had a massive win on the weekend. You were treated like a rock star post-game. Tell us all about your 2-1 win over Burley.
Yeah, mate, it was a tough old game. Burley's never easy to play against. They made it hard for us. They got Matt Hilton up front. But I thought we were the better team over the whole 90 minutes. Mark was there. It was a big crowd. Matt, probably the biggest home and away crowd I've seen for 15 years. But no, we got the job done, and we're just looking for this weekend and then the weekend after, and just keep the pressure up on Surfers Paradise.
Did it feel like a momentum, like you get a lot of momentum from that win?
Yeah, we've sort of had momentum the whole year. We've been consistent. I think we've only allowed 12 goals for the whole season so far. So we're pretty much the same team every week now. Only have 1 or 2 adjustments for yellow cards or injuries or stuff like that. But no, we've been right in that confidence for the last few weeks.
All right, Mark, I'll get you to take us through 2 of the other games that happened on the weekend. Coomera and Broadbeach had a 0-0 draw, and Robina had a 3-0 win over Nerang.
Yeah, obviously the Coomera Broadbeach game, we weren't at that game, but from all accounts, it was a very go through the motions game for both teams. Coomera obviously having, as you can imagine, I think both sides were pretty confident saying, they had the chances, didn't have their shooting boots on. According to the stats, it doesn't look like they even had a shot on target for long periods there. But a lot of chances. That final execution obviously wasn't there. And Broadwich got back to their, being strong defensively like they had been, apart from those last two games where they've lost 5-0, 5-0. Pretty much for the remainder of the year, they've been pretty solid at the back. And they showed that. Coomera are the best defensive team in the competition based on stat-wise and all the rest of it. They don't leak a lot of goals. And just can't put it in the back of the net. Obviously, Enrique came back this week. So I'm sure Steve McDonald was hoping for some goals out of him. Wasn't to be there on that one. The Robina game on Sunday, it was hot again. It was a tough afternoon. Then Nerang, it was down 1-0 at half time, made some adjustments, came out second half, and pretty much was all Nerang for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Applied a lot of pressure there in the first half. And then against the run of play, Robina just scored the second one. It sort of deflated Nerang from there. Obviously, I want to say that the boys that got injured, obviously, from Nerang, Andy Trotter there, did his hamstring by the looks of it. I hope that's not as serious as. And Russell Minor had a pretty bad ankle injury that he couldn't even walk off the pitch by himself. So, I'm hoping, from what I heard from a few people, it's not anything major, but it could be a possible fracture or ligaments or something along those lines. And then obviously Leon Bell getting the cut above his eye, forcing the game to stop a bit earlier than the 90 minutes because of the seriousness of the injury. I'm sure, being the person that he is and the strong character, he'll get a couple of stitches and probably be out there this weekend against Brett. But no, look, that makes it extremely difficult for Nerang now to make the top four. I think Lee said that in his post game. He's going to need a miracle to get both wins and to rely on results to go his way in both those, both Robina and Burley's fixtures. So it's been a tough year for them overall, with the amount of injuries that they've had and obviously the transition into a new environment for a lot of those players. But again, you got to give Robina credit. They're on a roll. They're coming into the last two games with high on confidence. I think they've won 4 in a row now. And they know that if results go their way this week, they can go into the Palmy game, which I think Brett's hoping for, secured in 4th spot, and not having to worry about getting a win in that final day. But then again, another scenario comes into play. I've worked out these scenarios. If Robina do beat Coomera this weekend, and obviously Burley do lose, well then Robina could actually, if they beat Palmy and Surface beat Coomera, they could finish 3rd at the end of the day. So there's still scenarios to play all over the park. So it'll make for an interesting round come this weekend.
Definitely. Plenty to look out for there. Now, Kirk, let's chat about your 3-0 win over Southport last weekend.
Okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't at that game. I was away for my birthday, but for more reports, dominated. So I can't say too much about it. I mean, by the highlights I've seen from Football Gold Coast and from the reports from the coaches and stuff, I think we could have put more away, but dominate display. That's what we want this time of year. Just get those games over and done with, get the 3 points and get out of there. Obviously, Southport have their issues themselves and trying to battle away from that relegation spot. So if we can get 3 points, happy with that. I mean, everything's all about 3 points now. However we get them, basically. So come into this week's game against Burley, it's what I class as the game on the Gold Coast. I used to always love playing against them when I played at Surfers here, and so Burley's the game. And obviously, being last year's double winners, they're right up for it. Philo will be right up for it. His boys will be right up for it. So will we. Alex will have the boys ready to rock and roll. And who knows? It could go down to the last week with Robina. So in terms of, Coomera, obviously their result this week, and then Robina against Palmy and us against Coomera. So as Mark said, it's all to play for. So many scenarios to come up. So, but all about getting 3 points this week.
All right. Let's talk just quickly about the highlights packages that you as a club put together. Do you have the hero cameras in the goals, do you?
So what we have the GoPro. We have our market and media manager, a guy called Chris Phillips, does that himself. So we put them up in the corners. We do it for all our games, the Metro all the way on to Premier League and the reserves. And tell you what, we get some good feedback from it. I think we've approached Football Gold Coast to maybe look at something similar. We've also approached the Golf Company to look at something similar. maybe to produce some brackets. But it just gives you different perspective to have. Most of the goalkeepers quite enjoy it if they've had a good game. If they're a bad game, they don't like to see it. But as players ourselves, we like to, see how it gives you a bit more perspective in the goal mouth rather than, say, from the highlights that Football Gold Coast provides. So we sort of tie that in with the highlights now, as Chris has done, and I think it works well, really well.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Just quickly, with the panning across, I noticed that you get that in your packages. How's that done?
Good question. Don't know.
Sure? Okay, no problem.
I've seen that. Yeah, it sort of pans across. I don't know. I think he has it connected to his phone, so he might be able to do it because he sits on the hill and he watches the game himself. So he might be able to pan across at the right time, or yeah, I'll be guessing, to be honest. To be fair, so.
Right. Okay. In my time with Football Brisbane, when we used to cover a match of the round, we would have GoPros in each goal, but we never used it to the extent that you guys do. And I think it's such a cheap option, isn't it, for clubs? And I'm sure, Brett, if you had that, the amount of analysis that you could use that for, fantastic coaching tool.
Yeah, I seen a while back at the Champions Cup, there was a Japanese team come over and they had it up on a pole. They had like a camera up on a pole and the guy there with a tablet, and he followed the game round using the tablet, and the camera just followed him, sort of thing. But yeah, they're handy as far as analysis and that goes.
Excellent, fantastic training tools, and well done to Surfers for getting that up and running. All right, now let's have a look at this weekend's fixtures. Nerang, Palm Beach, Brett, how are you going to go?
Look, I think, like I say, we've been consistent for 12 weeks now. Nerang's my old club. I'm a bit of an old Nerang boy, so it's a bit of a homecoming for me. I know what to expect from them. They'll work hard for the 90 minutes and never give up. So we've just got to match them with that, and then hopefully our ability comes out on top. But no, expecting a hard game, especially 3 o'clock kickoff.
For sure. Will there be any special welcome for you?
I doubt it. No. I might get a couple of sausage rolls after the game. That's about it.
Look forward to that. All right. So you touched on your match this weekend, Kirk, against Burley Heads. How are you going to beat them?
Oh, good question. Another one for Alex, I suppose. I don't want to give too much tactics away to Philo. He'll be watching this, no doubt, when it comes up. Listen, we've just got to stay what we've been doing all year. We've got a very good attack. Our defence is strong midfield, all around the park, to be fair. Let's be honest. We've just got to stay in the battle. If there is a battle, we've just got to make sure that we know that Burley are going to come through. I mean, it's a must-win game for them. So at the end of the day, depending on how the result goes through the game, I'm sure Philo's going to push players on if they're behind. So, we might have opportunities there. But it's certainly going to be a battle from the very start to the finish. They're not going to hand over their title very easily. So we've just got to make sure that we're smart and get the job done. As I said, 3 points is 3 points. However we get it done, as long as it's done.
Sure. Mark, I'll get you to take a look at the last 2 matches. So Robina against Coomera and Broadbeach against Southport. Now that bottom of the table match could turn out to be super important at the end of the season.
Yeah, look, we'll start with that one. Obviously, Southport has had a coaching change going into that one. So, Robert Woods, I think, pretty sure will be taking the reserves and the first on the weekend there. What team runs out for Southport, I'm yet to know. I don't know. I don't know what we'll see. I don't know what state they'll be in after that game. I think that game took a lot out of them, not only playing wise, but obviously just emotionally and mentally heading into these final 2 weeks. So I can imagine it's been a tough time for their players in the last week or so. Considering the start they had as well, I don't think anyone anticipated for it to be the way it is right now, but it is what it is. Broadbeach, on the other hand, I think you see the best out of teams when they get into the so-called desperation mode, and this is it. This is 3 points. If they get 3 points here, they go into that Burley game next week knowing that if results still go their way and they can get the job done, which they lost in the last kick again against Burley the first go round, at least they could put themselves with an opportunity. I think, you can't ask for much more as a club and a team than an opportunity to get yourselves out of it. If it's out of your hands, it's a bit different. You're hoping for other things to go your way. So they have an opportunity now, back-to-back games, to put 2 wins together and try to get out of that playoff spot. As for Rabina Kumra, this is probably a bigger game than most people would look at for just the makeup of the entire competition, especially moving to that last round. With all the scenarios, as I did mention, if Kumra get the job done and results go, against Rabina in one capacity, they might have to come out to Palmy and get a win and hope results go their way. So, anything is possible in these last 2 rounds. The shortened season has helped that, and the strength of the competition has helped that along the way. You look at our top 2. Brett, I just want to obviously a reminder, but he lost to Southport in that early period, and Alex drew with Southport as well in that early period. And those teams, they were expected to win. They didn't. So these scenarios, next 2 weeks, it's all up in the air, really. But again, those 2 fixtures have a different element to the 2 fixtures that Palm Beach and Surfers have to play this week.
Mark, I didn't know about the Kumra coach.
And
the South. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. News to me.
Oh, there you go. Surprised that there's news, to be honest. I think news travels on Gold Coast quite quickly. I think Rob's no longer. Yeah, I think that Robert Woods will be taking over. And again, it's sort of. I'll touch on I'll give the reserves a bit of a plug as well. The reserve league's going down to the wire too, with 3 teams all in it. Like Palm Beach and Nerang this week is a massive game for their reserve league. And Southport, Surfaces of capacity. Surface got to go play Burley this week, and Southport, they're in equal points with Southport, who are currently occupying 4th. And then again, if their coach has to shift his mentality to 2 games, could change everything. So this is what we like, I guess, at the end of the year, playing for seeing it's a different element of pressure. Although we're not professional, but the amateurs players don't have that professional mentality of locking in all the rest of it. But to their capacity, it's sort of the same emotion, isn't it? And the same their ability is how well can they deal with the pressure in the final 2 games. I'm just probably. It's great for the neutral who's looking at this all unfold, and the supporters of both teams, Surface and Palm Beach. But for us, we have to sit in Nerang with the trophy in our car on the final day. If it goes down to the final day, waiting, do we turn to go towards Palm Beach or do we turn to go to Coomera? So, it'll be good fun.
Just get the helicopter out, mate. Be easy.
Damien's helicopter.
Get it in.
All right. So, yes, and this is why we love football. It's for these times of the year. So, yeah, it's going to be amazing. Mark, just one more thing. There's been a few midweek games. Is there anything that we need to mention there?
Look, the midweek, obviously a couple of our divisions are going down to their final couple of rounds. Tully Valley winning the Metro Div 1. I presented that trophy last night. Women's Div 1, their semi-finals were last night. You got Musgrave taking on Broadbeach, 2 pretty consistent rivals throughout their women's football in the past 5 years. They're playing the Women's Div 1 final next week, as well as Rabina playing Pacific Pines in the Women's Div 2 North. The rest are going through their motions and finishing up their leagues thereabouts. Again, scenarios there across the board. I know Metro Div 1 scenarios, obviously, because of having friends and people who play in that division. You've got Surface versus Surface there next week, so I think they'll all be doing a bit of calculations going, do you want to finish 4th to maybe try to get us both in the final? Do we both play in the semi-final together? So, it'll be a bit of an interesting period there. So, yeah, look, our midweek competitions are strong. We've always said that. We've had 6 midweek competitions. There's more midweek competitive teams, midweek teams than, weekend competitive football per se. So it shows you that, and there's a lot of good players, handy players playing down there, Kirk being one of them, running out 90 minutes last night. Sure, Brett could, if he wanted to, still run around as well and play, obviously, time being the constraint. I've forced Brett to come on the field and help out at Metro a few times when I was still running around. So, yeah, it's good. Football this time of year isn't unusual, but it's good. I'm still enjoying. I'm enjoying now going to football and not having to worry about it being that cold at this period. So, yeah, can't complain.
Brett and Kirk, are your sides asking for drinks breaks during matches at the moment?
No.
No, not. We did try and move the kickoff for Saturday to a bit later, but that never happened. But I think it might have to happen in the last couple of weeks. It's going to get hotter and hotter. So
I can probably say it clearly now. We scheduled the semi-finals to be later on, and we've split the semis on the Saturday and the Sunday to allow obviously people to go to both, but also make it later kickoffs because, as I said a couple of weeks back with Nathan, we don't want to see that. Obviously, these games, a lot of clubs have controls over their kickoff times back. I think in the early part when we were setting these kickoff times, no one thought about this time. Everyone thought, can we get through one week of football, then a month, then a season? So now that we've come to the end, obviously filming comes into play as well, and games that we can film and so on and so forth. But overall, I think in the last couple of weeks, to assure everyone, we will have later kickoffs. So it'll be good to see the best football we can on those days.
Yeah, well done. All right, Kirk. Now, before we wrap things up today, we might give you an opportunity. We've heard from Brett for all these weeks. It's time to hear the Surfers Paradise point of view.
Yep.
You're going to win this league, right?
Of course we are.
If he said no, that'd be a bit surprised, wouldn't it?
Oh, no, well, I'd say, well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. We're in the box seat, to be fair, aren't we? But I'm one of those kind of people that don't want to say too much. I'll just, touch wood, count your chickens, all that kind of stuff. But we are in the box seat. It's up to us. It's in our hands. We haven't won it since 2002. Alex actually played our head coach Alex played in that team. There's only one other player, Cinny, who actually plays with me in Metro, was part of that team. Still at the club. So, yeah, and obviously our president was still around. So, yeah, it's a long time between drinks. So, we've put ourselves right in the position to do it. So, yeah, let's just hope Burley don't turn up and let's hope Coomera don't turn up.
You're one of those people that don't want to say it, and I'm one of those people that want to make you say it.
I know you do, and that's if I do say it, I'll get in trouble.
No, it's been really enjoyable watching the banter between the clubs this year, and it's been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope that through this show we can show, the other leagues around the place just what's possible. There's things that you guys that you do on the coast, which is fantastic, and I'm all for promoting it and sharing the love, basically.
Perfect.
All right, so let's wrap up the show there. So, Brett Budwee, thank you for stepping in at the last moment. We really appreciate you jumping in.
All good, mate, anytime.
All right, and apologies for those who tuned in to check out what Jason Schultz had to say. If he wins the grand final, we might get him on next week just to give a wrap of the season. We'll see how it goes. Kirk Brebner, thank you very much for jumping in today. If things keep going, we might get you on in the next couple of weeks as well.
That'd be lovely. Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Good stuff. And Mark Madge, always a pleasure to have you on board, mate.
Thank you. Not a problem. Anytime.
All right. This is the Look Finance SEQFC Preview Show with thanks to Vilic Law. Enjoy this football this weekend. It's going to be great. We'll see you next week.